Wednesday, May the 28th. Lake level hasn't changed too much. It's right about 9:15. It's come up a couple inches. Water temperatures in the mid-70s pretty much no matter where you're at in the lake. Now we've had quite a little bit of rain. Not any big amounts. You know, we've had some showers that it comes down real hard. Get a quarter inch at a time or something. Not enough to muddy up the lake or to start to raise the lake level, but just enough to cloud the water up in places where it has been real clear. The visibility's not as clear as what it was, which is good. It's keeping the fish a little bit shallow. We've had perfect, ideal conditions for topwater. And you know, we're catching quite a few fish on topwater, but I think if it was 2 weeks later and we had all these, cloudy days, it'd be a phenomenal topwater bite. A lot of the fish is still just kind of resting up from, getting through with this spawn. I think the majority of the largemouths and smallmouths pretty well done spawning, but still catching a lot of Kentuckys that haven't spawned. Now, I've seen years past where, like when the water level came way up, things got crazy, that the spotted bass or Kentuckys actually didn't spawn. A lot of times they'll just carry their eggs if, like this year it was the weather getting cold and warm, and there's times that a lot of them fish, won't get their eggs dropped. But a lot of the areas I'm catching these Kentuckys in, I think they're out there spawning or getting ready to. A lot of these Kentuckys spawn a lot deeper than what most people think. They'll spawn out there on the main lake, anywhere from 15, 18, even 20 foot deep sometimes, especially with the water clarity like it is right now. So there's a lot of different things working, a lot of different ways to catch fish. I'll start out with kind of the topwater. Now I've been fishing it early. It's been a little better early, but if a person stays with it, especially when it's cloudy, they're in a lot of different places. I'm starting to catch some off of the bluff ends on the main lake. I'm catching several on the pole timbered secondary points and channel swings in the creeks. What these fish do is after they get done spawning, they don't necessarily go out deep, but they go out over the deep water and just kind of suspend and rest up. Now the shad are getting ready to spawn. I'm seeing a little bit more shad activity, so that'll get the topwater bite fired up as well. A lot of the topwater fish I'm catching are on big baits. Like a jointed redfin. This is a storm thunder stick. There's just a ton of different baits that'll work. Cotton cordell, redfin. Catching a few, some on a spook. The spook's one of my favorite baits. And I am catching some on a Strike King weight bait, which you just work pretty much just right on the surface to keep a constant reel to it. Now it seems like if you get a few fish that are smacking at it, they're not blowing the bait out of the water real hard. Most of the bites, the fish are just coming up from behind the bait and sucking it in. Now if you get something that's slapping at it and missing at it and then won't come back up again, I've been taking a little swim bait. This is a little Kitech, but you can take any 3 or 4 inch swim bait on a 1/4 ounce or 3/8 ounce head, cast it out there, just drop it a couple feet and slow roll in the same areas that you've been throwing the topwater. You can also throw just a 4 or 5 inch single tail smoked chomper's grub or salt and pepper will work as well. You can catch them on a Carolina rig. You can catch them on a wobblehead jig. Most of the fish, if I was, I'm going out tomorrow and we'll start out with the topwater. Then when we start on the bottom, we'll start shallow. A lot of the fish have been anywhere from 2 feet to some as deep as 25. Now a lot of the smallmouths and largemouths that I'm catching up there shallower, a lot of them are, spawned out fish, and the smallmouth bite seems to be getting a little bit less and less each day. See, a month or 2 ago I talked about how things kind of start up the White River and progressively work down towards Kimbling and towards the dam. Well, it seemed like the fish spawned up there first, then Kimbling area, and then the dam. And I think the James River is a little bit behind this year. There's still fish spawning up there. Now, a lot of the things I was doing up around Baxter and Campbell Point, as far as on the gravel points and pockets, seem to be working better for me up into the James, up around Ants Creek, Hideaway, Buttermilk, up in that area. Now, I can still get bit down by the dam in Kimbling City, but I'm not catching near the numbers of fish that I was a week ago. If I go up to the James, I can get into the numbers. Probably the #1 deal is that crazy old Ned rig. But you can catch them on a shaky head. That Ned rig, we talked about it last week, is basically just a Cinco cut in half, put on a 16th ounce or 8th ounce jig head, super glue it on there, and you fish it just like a jig. You throw it out there, let it go to bottom, and where it's real lightweight, you got to fish it real slow. Most of the time you don't even feel the bite. You got to keep real close attention to your line. What you'll see is the fish will just pick it up, you'll see your line start swimming off. Now you can catch them on a shaky head, on like a Zoom swamp crawler, any type of finesse worm, whether it's watermelon candy, this one's watermelon red, a green pumpkin will work. And like I say, I'm fishing it just outside the spawning pockets. They're starting to gather up on the main lake and secondary points. Now, if I back out a little deeper, a lot of these fish have been from 2 foot to 12 or 15. If I start to back out a little bit deeper, that's where I'm starting to catch them a little bit better Kentuckies. And I've actually been catching some of them Kentuckies on a football jig and a pig sticker called a pig rig with it's a Strike King Rage Craw. Let's see if I got one here. But it's just a twin tail grub on like a wobble head. Gene LaRue makes the hard head, the biffle head will work. And you can probably throw a football jig with like either a Rage Craw or a Zoom Speed Craw for a trailer. And those fish are coming from anywhere from 15 to about 20 foot. And they're out there on the main lake points, some on the secondary points. It seems like if I got deep water on one side of the point, what I'm doing is I'm keeping the boat in 25, 28 foot of water, casting up to about 15 and working it down off the top of the point onto the sides. I'm not getting near as many bites out there. I can go up shallower and catch 4 or 5 fish to one fish that I can catch out deeper. But the deeper ones, been catching a few better smallmouths, some largemouths that have spawned out, and also Kentuckies that haven't spawned. So they seem to be a little bit bigger out there than the ones shallower. You can still catch fish on a fluke up there shallow. I don't think there's a bait in your tackle box right now that you can't catch a fish on. It's just whatever you've got the most confidence in. But I'm finding day in and day out, between the Ned rig or the split shot or shaky head, I'm catching 4 to 5 fish on those 3 plastic baits more than any other bait. So, it's gonna stay real good like this for several weeks until the water gets a lot hotter and then fish start moving out deeper. Topwater bites should get a little bit better. Something I haven't mentioned is Lew's is having a national sale or rebate deal on all of their speed spools. So if you purchase a speed spool reel between now and I don't know the exact date, sometime in July, you got a mail-in $20 rebate. So if you're looking at a new reel, anybody that I've had out that's used my equipment, the next reel they buy, 99% of the time is usually a Lew's after they've fished with one. So till next week, good luck, good fishing.